they talk about, you got your perfect crisp white button-up shirt with your logo, and then you walk in the door. You know who gives a shit about that? Nobody. Because when you walk in the door and you're like, hey guys, check this thing out, and you're one of them.
Right.
Everyone in that whole station has come up through the ranks.
Right.
And they know exactly what it's like. It's not like you don't want to be inauthentic, but if you just tell the story from their perspective of here's what I have experienced, storytelling takes you a lot farther than dumb, flashy marketing on a perfect white sheet of paper. Nobody cares. David, it's so great to have you on the show. We're here on the 2448, and I am super excited to have you. Give me the backstory. So what is XDCuff, and tell me about this business that you've got going.
So I started working in an area in Daytona where we used them on like a weekly basis. Physical restraint depends really on the area you work.
Is that what you guys make? It's a physical restraint?
It's a physical restraint for uncooperative patients,
Got it.
It's not for criminals or anything. It's people like head injuries, postictal. The first time I used it, I was like, this is crazy. This is like really hard to do. And I asked my partner, who was a veteran of it, I was like, how do we do this better? And he kind of went over like how to tie the knot and apply it to him. I said, okay.
So what's your background? Were you a medic? Or
I was an EMT. So I started as an EMT in Daytona in 2006. I had my fire cert at the time also, but it was really competitive back then to get in. It's a lot easier now to get in. So
you're probably people trying to get their ass kicked on the ambulance.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
It's tough. It is. So I was an EMT for a few years. So I worked with it was an EMT medic truck that we worked on. So, so back to that, like I kind of just went over it with him. He's like, hey, do this. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be better prepared next time. It's not something, that's kind of another issue. It's kind of brushed over in school. So you're really not prepared on how to do it. Police have a whole bunch of training in physical restraint.
And you're talking about like actually how do you
actually do it?
Keep a patient on the cot so they're not flipping out in the back of the truck.
They go over like when someone's relaxing how it works and how it ties, but like the whole initiation, when to do it, how to do it. It's really not there, and we have very little training, so it was hard, So
XDCuff is a business that helps medics and other people in the back of the ambulance restrain patients that are in like tough situations, whether it's head injuries, other things. Like it's primarily like that's what you guys do as a business.
That's the main thing, just to do it faster and
easier. Is it keeping the medic safe? Is it keeping the patient safe? Kind of why?
It's both. It just takes a while, to do it. And, it's dangerous for everyone involved. I mean, a lot of times police are there helping us.
Yeah.
I've even had family sometimes trying to help us because we're sometimes limited. You can go on calls. If somebody's on another call, you might be the only one in that zone, so you might be there for a little while by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just safer, because they're not meaning to hurt you, you know what I mean? So they're flailing around, we're trying to sedate them with chemical restraint. I get a lot of stuff online about that's garbage, you don't need it, we only do chemical. I'm like,
you gotta stick them first.
I'm not right. I'm not against that. I'm just saying I want to be able to restrain them before we do it, or just at least one arm, so we can at least have an arm that's not moving when you have needles going around. If you're doing like an IM route, IV's obviously hard when they're flailing around. It's typically IM, but it does get dangerous when they're not fully restrained. It really wasn't until a few calls that really made me like look into it. So like I said in the beginning, from the very start, like the first week on the job, I knew there was an issue with it. Then I would see a few calls. I had one in specific where it was just a really long patient care delay.
So just you guys on scene waiting on.
Yeah. So I mean, none of our guys were really injured during that one. It was just the patient did not get the best care that they could have gotten, and you feel horrible as a medic when you can't. That happens sometimes. It happens.
Yeah.
Where there's some type of situation, whether it be access to the patient, but it's a delay. So I just thought it was really bad that there was a delay because of the equipment that we could make better. And it was horrible because I knew like if I could restrain that guy faster, that we could have treated him better.
That's so interesting. I feel like viewers might sometimes think, and maybe people that aren't in public safety, I'd be like there would have to be a negative connotation around restraining, right? Like you think about that in all the context of not knowing what actually occurs on the ambulance.
Right.
But it's interesting to hear like the development of this product has come out of compassion for the injured.
Right.
And the ability to restrain someone who is injured might be a danger to themselves. Like, I think that obviously, like the two of us sitting here, I've been on 1,000 of those calls. I know, like I've experienced it, but a lot of folks that have never worked with a critically injured head trauma or something like that, like they might not recognize that there's a need to be able to restrain someone because it's not like they're not always punching you. They might just be in a state where they can't control themselves, and then all of a sudden it becomes dangerous to them and to you. And so it's just cool to hear that positive connotation and that compassionate connotation around a device that I feel like people might not understand, that don't understand the environment.
Right.
Like you're going to tie someone to the stretcher, that's rude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
right.
sometimes you have to because you really got to help them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right in that. I think everybody thinks that it's psychiatric, primarily, but that's really,
honestly, I didn't even think about it until you said that.
I mean, it's definitely there for sure, with drugs and all this stuff where, they've done so much where they're actually just mentally incapable of doing, you know what I mean? But I mean, I think that's a smaller percentage. Like for me, it's typically like head injuries and post-ictal seizure patients and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, interesting. So as you began kind of like thinking this through, like, did you just something spark the idea, or like how did you come up with I've got to start a business because I know I can do this better? And then how do you do it?
So from the beginning, the issue, the treatment delays, and then the last one was like a perfect storm of everything. So
a patient call.
Yeah. So that was like the night that it all really started because it was a post-ictal seizure patient, was really calm, and that's what happens. They'll be calm after it. And then when they're kind of coming to, they start freaking out because they're like, what are you guys doing? They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, walk us through for someone that's listening that might not know what like a seizure progression like. So if they're, what is it like? Just kind of walk us through that experience.
So when you have a seizure, afterwards you'll be in what they call a post-ictal state where your body is just, trying to reset from this electrical storm that's happening in your head, and they'll be, somewhat calm. You know, and they'll kind of just be looking around, very nice. And then as they're coming back around, we'll provide oxygen and treatment and try to move them to the stretcher as fast as possible. Sometimes it'll progress to just being very uncooperative and fighting us because
there's like disorientation as they're like rebooting their brain or something like that.
Very much so. And it could last for a little while.
Wow.
And typically at that point, when it does come to that, we need to sedate them with some type of benzodiazepine medication, which is typical. But like I said, in order to do that, it's nice to have them.
You gotta have access.
Just have them restrained first and just make sure nothing happened. So in this call, it's exactly what happened. He became very uncooperative. The guy was like 240.
Oh, big guy, yeah.
Super big. And then especially when they're in that mindset, they're even stronger than they are normally. So we were getting hurt, like thrown around the ambulance. As
the guy was waking up.
Yeah,
coming out of it.
We're trying to apply the traditional physical restraint, and my partner's getting thrown around. They're kind of roughing up the patient a little bit, trying to do it, and just it was horrible. So we actually abandoned the physical restraint. We had like 4 guys in the back, I think, and we tried to do IM medication. So we tried to do it before we had any type of control, and then he had pushed the needle. It was a clean needle, thankfully, but he pushed the needle into my partner's hand, and I actually had it in my hand, and I'm not, he pushed my arm into his arm and stabbed my partner.
Yeah.
So here we are.
What'd you do? Were you like, oh,
it's horrible.
Stick. Like, what do you do?
Freaking, he's obviously not happy about it.
I bet. Obviously not happy.
And
that's a very polite way.
And I feel even worse because I got it in my hand, but I'm like, he did it.
Yeah.
But it was not fun at the time. And so like here we were like with a patient that's untreated, still fighting, no physical restraints. We've been there forever, feels like. I mean, every second counts, that's a real thing. And
you got a needle stick in the middle of it.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And the cops came and quickly handcuffed him to the stretcher. I'm like, dang. I was like, that's what we need is handcuffs. You know, like this would have never happened. I believe it for sure wouldn't have happened if we could have just at least got the one arm down and maybe sedated him. And
so it's almost like a vehicle. Like having good restraints is a vehicle to a better solution. Like eventually, you want to go to a chemical restraint, but beforehand, like you have to be able to control the scene faster.
So not to get too long, but we can't use hard restraints on patients because they're medical patients. We can't use zip. I was thinking, okay, maybe zip tie. I said, that's not going to work either because it's still a hard restraint.
Yeah.
So I went online. I didn't even really want to start a business at first. The real point was when I didn't find anything on Google.
You're like, I need something. Like I use this every day.
I searched all night after that call, looking for something, and then when it wasn't there is kind of when it all started. So
that's wild. Yeah. So what does a traditional restraint look like? Like how do you normally address that? What clearly didn't work, but how would you have handled it?
Yeah, so traditional restraint is like having a
like a piece of webbing
here.
or something, or is it like
Triangular bandage.
Yeah. You get time now with triangular bandage?
Cling, they'll do.
Oh,
Triangular bandage is actually the best restraint out there because they manufacture one, and the manufactured one, the most common, probably 85% plus of the market uses. It's a foam piece with 2 D-rings, 2 metal D-rings, and a strap at the end. So what you do, you feed the strap through the D-rings first, and you kind of put them on like a lasso around their wrists, and then you take that and you tie it to the stretcher.
Interesting. So, but does that just take too long, or what's
it does? It's just hard, and it's something that's not used all the time either. So finding where it is always a little bit of delay going through the cabin. It's like, oh man, I haven't used posies in a few months, you know.
Yeah.
So that's causes a delay. Prepping the D-rings before. Some people try to do the D-rings when they're on the patient, but that's kind of an issue. So
yeah, if they're moving around, it's like
if you have the old restraints out there, I'm not gonna say the brand name. Pre-loop the D-rings before you put it on the patient because obviously it's easier to do it when you're standing still as opposed to like putting the foam and then feeding the D-ring when you know, it's on. So I'll see that happen a lot in the field.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, it just takes a while, and then obviously tying a knot. As firefighters, we're trained in ropes, not like a flat strap to tie. So that's kind of a challenge. And when they're pulling back and forth, obviously it's difficult to like tie these special like quick release knots when they're pulling against you.
Yeah, interesting. So how did you come up with the better idea? This XDCuff is like, so it's a faster way to do it, but how, like, did you just dream it up one night?
I really went overboard on the first one, you know, and I was talking to Chelsea about it. This kind of would be towards the new entrepreneurs. It was a learning experience. So I really went overboard in the beginning and made a retractable. I had an engineer make a retractable restraint. So it was like a seat belt, right?
Oh, wow.
Always on the stretcher.
Huh.
So you just retract it out. And a lot of people don't even know about this. It's kind of embarrassing, you know. It's like not something, you know, it's a mistake in a way. But it might still work. But anyways, it was a retractor. Come out, you attach it to the wrist. It retracted back on its own, and then you'd hit the lock.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
It is, and I hope it'll work one day. But engineering is very expensive to do.
So did you reach out? Like you were like, hey, Google, find design engineer or something like that?
Yeah. I went to the local college. Embry-Riddle is one of
aeronautical school.
Yeah. So they had a little like area outside of that was for the private sector for new companies. So they had like the engineer, like all these different people to like help new,
like a rapid incubation center or something like that.
Exactly.
There's a local, actually one of the guys in the other room right now works for the local college.
Yeah.
We get him a couple days a month and he comes in and helps us do R&D.
Yeah.
So it's great.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So I found a great guy named Daryl.
That's so funny.
One of my good friends. And he helped me design it. So I got a patent.
Oh, really?
That was
that's
another
cool.
issue too. I wanted to kind of like let new guys, and people always come to me like at work or something, or a few people, I mean, not a lot, but I mean, they come and they ask like, hey, what should I do? I want to get a patent on this. I'm saying, hey, I kind of say hey, there's different ways around it, like maybe a provisional at first, and then maybe try to sell it before you put all this money into it. So I kind of did like,
they're expensive, huh?
Yeah, very expensive, man. So I really made like the classic mistake of putting a ton of money in patent into a product that was not ready to sell yet.
So like you hadn't got feedback like, hey, has anybody used it?
Right. So I was all worried about, someone taking the idea, but it's just, it's not really happening. A lot of people will see something, they're not going to go and take your stuff, unless you're making a ton of money. So if you're this new guy, it's not a bad idea to go to engineer. Like the engineer is not going to run off and say, okay, I'm going to start this company, and I really wish I would have done that starting out, but really I couldn't sell it. It was just so expensive, for what they were paying for.
For like what a piece of triangle.
Right. So go to this big retractor, and the design wasn't right also. So I kind of just kind of had to abandon that and do just what this is here.
So how did you, when you first started, right? So you called the local college and said, hey, I want to do this thing. What was that conversation like? Or what did they tell you originally?
I might have, but they might have just recommended the incubation center.
Oh yeah,
and that was really how it started. So I went there and met the engineer, and we designed it. And
did you explain to the engineering folks because I feel like if you were trying to explain to an alien what you do in the back of an ambulance, it would sound very foreign. So like, how did you actually relay the information of like, here's the problem I'm trying to solve?
Yeah.
Or did you give him like, hey, I want to have a retractable seatbelt?
I brought him in a retractable dog leash. And I'm like, this is like what I want, because it's got the little button on it.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of the inspiration of it.
Yeah, because you can control if it's locked or unlocked.
Oh yeah.
So I gave him that, and then like the other, I just like hand sewed like a little cuff, like it was like a leather cuff, and I was like, this is like what I want to do, and they kind of like helped me get to like that, and it was like a kind of like a little box with the retractor in it.
What was his feedback? Originally?
He liked it. He actually liked it because I mean, it's even if you don't work in the field, you know, like I kind of explained to him the issues I'm trying to overcome, and you could see it. You know, he knew already that he's like, this could be something. So he really put a lot into it to help me. You know, kind of mentored me and was really like on it. You know, and
and so it didn't. Like it sounds like once you finally got it put together, then the barrier became cost. Is that right?
Right.
Like customers said, like,
this
thing's too expensive.
And there's more engineering work, and I couldn't spend any more money. I'm like, I can't. Yeah. Because this engineering is really, really a lot. You know,
how did you fund it to start?
My father helped me.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so if you had to go back in time and do it differently, I mean, it's what would you have done differently now, knowing what you know now?
Start with the easiest route, you know. It's almost like you got to do it and just, I don't know, because I might have thought the strap was going to work, but I just went towards the retractor for some reason. It was just, I was just tunnel vision on it. I don't know.
That's so interesting.
I don't know.
So what's the feedback been? Did you ever take that original design and prototype it and bring it to the field and like have anybody test it and see if it actually worked?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Well, the one guy was like, I'm not paying this for that. And
what was it supposed to cost? Like the original one?
It would probably be like $300 or $400 for one thing.
Oh, really? Know? Yeah.
That's what, like if I was to manufacture it and make a profit.
Yeah.
So this guy's like, he wouldn't even entertain it. I'm like, I'm not even put it on the. I mean, he's cool. They loved it, and they're like, it's great in the idea of it.
Yeah.
But like, in reality, we're not going to pay that much. You know what I mean? So that was kind of what happened.
So
I didn't even actually test in the field. I was just doing the testing myself. Like in our ambulance, I'd have all my guys, and they'd break it, and we'd fix it, and just get it down to the point. But like once
that's cool.
Once you know, I brought it to a department to actually really sell and pitch, you know, and the price was just so far off that he was just like, Dave, he's like, you got a good idea, but you need to work on it.
Are you businessy? Like, does being a business person, like, is that a word you would describe yourself to your friends as? Or? No.
No, I just like building stuff and like designing stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And that's really what I'm trying to do right now is kind of delegate, like you've done, you know, to put people, you know, what are you good at? Marketing, you know, that's what you're doing, sales, and I'm trying to just focus now on manufacturing and like design new products and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I see myself.
Are there other people like around you that are the business people that you go to for advice, or how have you kind of begun to shape this business around the product? Because I think so many times people like they'll build a product and then forget that there has to be a business actually with the product. Yeah. Take the product to market.
That's 90% of the work.
You can have a subpar widget, but the best business, and all of a sudden you win. But sometimes the opposite street, just, you know, who do you go to for business advice?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of people. There's like 4 or 5 like mentors that I have that have done it already. Yeah. And I go to them with everything. That's been a huge part of it. You know, they all have they're all successful, and they all have like a different view on where to go. And I kind of just.
Are they public safety guys or?
Some. Yeah. Half public safety, some are private sector business guys. And
that's cool.
Yeah, they help. Ton.
Do other folks on your shift also like run? I mean, like everyone runs a landscape business or a Christmas lighting business. I was telling somebody the other day. Like, are there other business people on your shift at work, or are you kind of the outlier?
Oh no, you're right. Everyone has got something. They're all doing something.
Yeah.
But I'm probably the only person in this space like doing retail stuff.
You know? So who would buy it from you? Like when you think through your business, like have you thought about I sell to firefighters or to the agency or to the stretcher manufacturer or to the ambulance manufacturer? Like who's in that group that actually procures from you? Or should be?
It's mostly right now just EMS, fire agencies, transport.
How did you go from having a seatbelt like dog leash retractor mechanism to this more modern, smaller, faster cuff?
Oh, you know what's interesting? Actually, you reminded me of something. I actually don't ever ask a patent attorney for business advice. I'm serious.
Their business advice is do more business with them.
Dang, I hope he does. He follows me on LinkedIn too. Because I told him actually in the beginning, you know what? Like, it's interesting because I told him, I said, well, what if somebody just had a restraint rolled up on a stretcher and just attached in, you know, with a securement strap or something kind of stowed there?
Yeah, like almost like
I said, wouldn't that crush me? You know, and I'm thinking of like protection. My whole mind was wrong. You know, I'm thinking of like patent protection, but really the whole patent process just slows down everything. It's really a waste. Like, I hate it, you know.
Patents are only valuable if you can afford to fight them, and nobody can afford to fight them.
Right.
Because whoever you're fighting is always going to be better capitalized.
Yeah.
And then what good is it, you know? That's what I always say. I mean, unless you've got a ton of mass and a ton of momentum and something totally, I mean, we have like, there's 74 patents on the stuff that we do. But I mean, you got to actually be able to litigate it, and it is so expensive.
Right.
Like, someone does something that maybe infringes, maybe doesn't. You send a $10,000 letter.
I know.
All of a sudden, it's like, shit. Oh, and then their attorney's like, I had one of our advisors telling me a story about a competitor of ours who loves to tie people up in court. And they just tie you up in court until you go out of business. And it's like, oh, well, shit, I'm better off just to run with it. Get the patents. I'm not saying they're bad. You got to have IP protection. And if you ever like want to bring investors in, you want to be able to sell the business, that sort of thing, having an IP stack, which is really important, having patents or other sorts of things like that. But sometimes having shoes that run faster than the next guy, that's the ticket that actually differentiates. Because if you can run and you can innovate and you can change, then you'll stay ahead of the curve. People steal from you. That happens. I had a guy literally last week, one of our competitors copied almost verbatim a class we teach called The Science of Effective Scene Lighting. And they published it in a major trade publication in the industry. The trade publication did not give a shit that it was copied. I asked them and said, hey, what is the story? And they were like, it's between you and them. They're going to copy you. You're going to copy them. They pay us advertising money, so we're fine with it, basically.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so, like, had I trademarked and the publisher still doesn't give a shit. The competitor still doesn't give a shit. So what do? You innovate, and you got to spend faster, and you got to create more content. Because once the content's stale, it's that's coursework. It's not the actual product. But companies copy our stuff all the time. It's the best form of flattery. But we just stay on the innovative edge, and we're like, okay, great. By the time they're publishing content I wrote when I was 20 years old, guess what? That's old content. So we're 100 years ahead of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, in your world, I mean, it's like you could spend all day creating patents.
Yeah.
But then once you have patents, like, the patent has to be defended. And then it doesn't actually keep anybody from infringing on it. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's the world's most expensive piece of paper. Then you got to build it. You got to defend it. You got to do all this stuff. Sometimes it's better to just commercialize it. First to market advantage is actually sometimes more of an advantage than a protectable advantage. Yeah. Because by the time you're on the market, no one's going to buy from someone else.
Yeah. It's a weak way of thinking, and that was where my mind was at the time, like patents,
They're important. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but they aren't everything.
But like, it's definitely not something you have to make it. So, so anyways, I told him that, and that's kind of, and he told me, he said, the retractor's way better. Don't even worry about that. That's interesting. That's not going to work as good as the retractable part. And I was kind of in that mindset already. So that's really what forced me even more to go back to that. Yeah. But really at the time I said, well, that's how they're going to go around me. So really how I developed this is just thinking of ways how I would go around.
Yeah. How would you go around?
I have. Yeah. If I'm thinking from a third party,
I heard an interesting story about if I wanted to patent a chair, I couldn't patent a chair because chairs are everywhere. But if I wanted to patent a chair with 4 legs, but one leg was 1/2 inch shorter than the other one, maybe I could patent that. But if I wanted to patent a chair that had 3 legs, one was a little different, had a pink ring here, and it had this there, and it was a list of 100 things, I can get a patent on it, sure.
Right.
But then if I want to get around that patent, all I got to do is add the 4th leg back, or all I got to do is do whatever.
Right.
And so I had some advice from someone that wasn't a patent attorney, but someone that had just been around that space. And they told me, like, hey, you can't get tied up in it because unless it's like such a broad claim and it's never been done ever before, it's maybe so specific that, like you're saying, right? Someone might be able just to coil something up and then they don't use the retractor, but they're getting around me.
Right.
And so then, you have to evaluate as you're looking at starting a business or trying to protect IP, is this a chair with 3 legs and a purple stripe, or is it like so early in time that you're the first person ever to create a chair? Well, then if you have a patent on anything you sit on in the whole world, now it's valuable. But most of the time, nothing's novel anymore, right?
Yeah.
So
that was probably something I really shouldn't have listened to, because I had it in my mind, like that probably would be the best and obviously way cheaper.
Did it get granted though? Like you actually do have it
for that one, and then we recently got one on the securement strap for this. But we do have 2. But like I said, I operate as if it doesn't even exist. I just try to make it better and just listen to customers. I mean, they have been my guiding light. For sure. They help me the most. They say fix this, and obviously you got to weigh it. You can't take
put your ear to the pavement here.
You can't take everybody's advice.
But if 20 people tell you the same thing, it's like.
But yeah, so they've been awesome. And that's kind of what we did, and basically a strap rolled up underneath the stretcher.
Oh, no way.
And that's
awesome.
what it ended up being, years later.
Don't get me wrong. I think that patents are, like, especially like if you've got a couple different things you've got going, that is going to be helpful for the long term of your business, because so many people don't have anything. It's like, I mean, there's just nothing. So if you wanted to raise capital, or you wanted to bring an investor in, or like you just said, I'm going to go spend the rest of my life with my kids, buy it, and you're going to sell the business. If you have a market that wants to buy it and you have some IP, then the people that are in the worlds of investing in businesses, they're going to like that a lot. And so, like, it depends on what you're doing. If you want to be in a business where you can run ahead of the business all the time, you're going to be a part of it for the next 20 years, and your business model is, I'm going to innovate, then every time you innovate, your old stuff's obsolete. Who cares if they have it?
Right.
But if you're in a business where it's like, I got to spend 5 years in this business, I got to bring in some investors, I got to dump it, that's a business. It's an okay, but it's not the business model I'm in, but it's a business model that does exist. And in that case, you got to have that IP stuff, even if it's not perfect.
Right.
It's better than nothing. And you just have to weigh the cost of doing so. Like, if you got cash to spend and you're just spitting profit left and right, I'd be protecting everything I can do. If you're in startup mode, maybe start with the first thing. Start with something tertiary to what you want to do, and then eventually you'll mold it into exactly what you need and then protect that one.
Yeah. It was probably like at least a 6-month break I took from it just after all that, and took the whole retractor. I wanted to just say, okay, everything's going to be sewn. So it was actually like a 2-inch seatbelt strap that would wrap around the stretcher, and then I had another seatbelt strap that held the cuff, and then between the cuff there was like a metal hardware piece that was connecting the two. So you had the anchor, and it was kind of bulky. So that was our first model. It was really bulky on the stretcher. There's not a lot of room on the EMS stretchers because we got to move them in and out of homes and stuff, so there's not a lot of real estate there. So even that was a little bulky. I didn't like how that looked. And then I kind of did the same thing that I did with the retractor. Like, how would they go around this? Like, how would you improve that, thinking from that way.
Yeah.
And then after that bulky 2-inch seatbelt webbing deal, I kind of came to the idea, like, and my dad was there that day too. We had discussed it and he agreed. Like, I run it by him all the time. He's really been helpful too. So it's just this anchor here. So I thought, let's just make a restraint and then have this anchor on the stretcher.
So that just goes around like the rail or whatever.
There.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, so this is going to be the cleanest way to do it. So this is going to be the anchor. We're going to have the cuff there.
So you just put the cuff on the patient, get the anchor on the stretcher, on the stretcher.
So it's already there. And then this is our securement strap here that holds it on the stretcher. And that was like the cleanest, easiest possible way. So then I even went back to this. Like, how could we make this even better? So I kept trying to refine it down. And I actually did. And this was through customer feedback also. They're like, well, we don't use them a lot. Like I said, our department doesn't use them a lot, but some do a significant amount. So some of the departments that weren't using them a lot were concerned about them getting dirty on the stretcher.
You're just getting stuff on them all the time.
They're not used. Okay. Obviously, people that use them all the time love this idea, having it there all the time. So that's where this one came into play, where this is the only thing that's on the stretcher.
And then is this just in your medical cabinet?
And that's just in this bag.
Oh, that's sick.
You just put it on typically ahead of the stretcher, because if you're in a house or something, you're not having to run back to the ambulance or your med bag that it's already on the stretcher. So we make this little bag to store it there.
Do you make that whole thing?
No, this is PAX bags.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
But it holds everything together, so you just grab it and you go. Done.
Yeah. So XDCuff is similar to traditional restraints out there. It has an anchor and a soft cuff that goes around your wrist. Really what we did different is we pre-connected the anchor. So
like the anchor actually goes around, like, so it's like almost like a loop that goes onto
so it's
the
always
stretcher.
there. You couldn't do that with the other ones because they would like fall off. They don't have this Velcro, and that's all that Velcro does. So it keeps that anchor in place all the time, so it's not slipping off. Like,
for those of you guys listening, this thing is like it's sitting here on the table in front of me. It's pretty cool. It's like this. It's a strap mechanism that attaches to the cot. But there's a couple of you'll just have to go online and check it out on XDCuff.com. Is that it? You can see how this whole assembly works. But it basically, it's like makes it teeny. Just sits on the stretcher in the background. You don't need it till you need it.
Right.
And then the other assembly, this is the actual cuff part. I'm just holding it in my hand now. It's it's almost like webbing, but it's tied up nice and tight, and you pull it out, snap it into the thing, and you're good to go.
Yeah. So one of the securement strap that holds it in, it's got one side for the cuff, and then this is the one side that goes around the stretcher frame.
Yeah.
So it will hold it underneath there like that.
I see. So it's literally like tucked away, just out. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so you would just pull it off
And then you yank that little, there's a red tab. It looks almost like a, you ever flown an airplane? You have like those flight jacket things. You like pull red tab in an emergency. Like,
that's it. Pull. I actually want to write that on
you
there.
Should.
Pull tab in emergency.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so you just remove that. This stays on the stretcher. This comes out.
Oh, that's sick. So it's like quick deploy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So then this thing, so you put this thing on the patient's hand. They can be flopping around, whatever. You put this thing on them while they're moving, and then you got enough slack in it that you can tighten it down.
Right. So even if they're pulling, you don't have to.
So it does the same thing as a retractor. It just isn't actually retractable. It's like, I mean, it's not like
manual,
rewound.
Manual version.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
So we use these really heavy buckles. They're made in Georgia, and they're 448-pound rated, so it's like extremely like this is like the stuff they make like the handguns out of. This is acetyl plastic, really strong stuff. We actually made a steel version as well just for that, but
that's awesome.
Once people see this, they're pretty comfortable.
And this thing, is it like a neoprene? It's almost like a wetsuit.
Just neoprene.
That's so cool. So it's soft, not gonna hurt the patient. Like it's proper.
Yeah, we have a disposable version also that will clip into the same system. So it just depends on what they...
Yeah, whatever the medical director says they want to use.
Right, exactly.
That's cool. How did you land your first sale? Like, did you have to be creative, or like, how did you actually...
It was hard.
Convince someone to buy from you? Yeah.
Like anybody, nobody wants to be the first person out there. You
know,
or first
early
person.
Adopters are far and few between.
Yeah,
right?
it's not, and I'm the same way. So I don't hold it against any of them. I mean, you're gonna buy a shoe that's has been proven over years. So anybody coming with something new, it's really a challenge. So the first customer, I think the only way I got him on, that Jacksonville Fire is one of our customers, but at the time they were just trialing it, so he's like, well, who's using this, and they were only under a trial. They weren't really
testing
using
it out.
So I'm like, oh, Jacksonville Fire Department's using it, and he's like, oh, really, and that's really awesome. All I had to say. And
now it's like someone else using this thing. All right,
yeah, they're using it, but they're not really using it.
Yeah, testing it out. Are they using it now?
Yeah,
that's sick.
Yeah, and so that was really my first sale, and you do need that. You need that like social proof and people using it. So after that, I would post it on my website. Any new customer that came on, I would thank them and, ask them if I could post it and write their name and just say, hey, thank you for putting patient and crew safety, something like that. And then just have their
tell who it is.
Have their little logo. And
that's sick.
That was, I think, a big driver for me, because you do want to see other people using them.
Yeah.
I would do, obviously, a ton of sales, emails. I think that's still the best way for me, just to email somebody, and just people don't really like the phone stuff so much, especially in business. So I try to just stick it with emails, and I kind of always start off as well like I'm a paramedic. Like you were saying, I start off every conversation if I'm doing a call. Hey, my name's Dave. I'm a paramedic and founder of XDCuff Restraints, and then they'll actually listen to you.
That's so funny.
At first I did it like, hey, I'm the marketing guy. I try to like act like I'm like this.
Yeah, they don't want to talk some suit. They're like, screw that.
And I did that I probably wasted a few months doing that, but you can't even get past the gatekeepers with that. But if you say you're a medic, they're like, oh, I got you.
Yeah, no, I got you, because they want to be on your side. You're sitting on the same side of the table as those guys, and it's like.
So that gets me through all those gatekeepers, saying I'm a medic to the, whoever's answering. So that gets me to like the top, and I just do it really quick and sweet. It's a really easy product to describe to somebody, and really they're universally like hated by everybody. The traditional method.
Yeah, anyone that's ever worked in an ambulance knows the pain of like, oh my god, I got to screw out this dumb triangle band. This isn't going to work.
Yeah,
and then you got a better option. Like,
so it's been pretty easy. You don't have to be the best marketer, especially if it's something new and truly like unique than what's out there.
It's funny you talk about like social proof, and don't be afraid to mention like, hey, no, I'm a medic. In our business, I start this class I teach called the Science of Effective Scene Lighting, and I say, listen, I'm a fireman. That's what I do. I understand I volunteer in a small town, right? It's not like a New York City fireman, but I'm a fireman somewhere. And I worked on an ambulance for 10 years. I love the ambulance. I love the fire truck. And I've been in the situations that you've been in as well. And this is how I solve the problem. And all of a sudden, like, we have some other customers and partners around the industry that, like, they talk about, you got your perfect, crisp, white button-up shirt with your logo. And then you walk in the door. You know who gives a shit about that? Nobody. Because when you walk in the door and you're like, hey, guys, check this thing out. And you're one of them.
Right.
Everyone in that whole station has come up through the ranks.
Right.
And they know exactly what it's like. It's not like, you don't want to be inauthentic, but if you just tell the story from their perspective of here's what I have experienced, Storytelling takes you a lot farther than dumb, flashy marketing on a perfect white sheet of paper. Nobody cares. There's a million people making that stuff, and they can always do it cheaper, and they can always have a bigger system. But if you have that emotional connection with the people, that's when they're gonna. That's when they're gonna run.
And it's always fun too. I always starting out. It wasn't, because like I said, I was just trying to be that like fancy, business person. You know what I mean? And it's doesn't work. You know what I mean? So it's definitely got a lot easier. Thankfully, like I'm not like nervous when I go. Like this, I was a little nervous, but it's always a good time. It's definitely really fun to do these demos. I wish I could do it full time, just go around the whole country doing it. But it's nice to see different people's perspectives. Just
Yeah. How do you get a demo opportunity with someone?
So a lot of the time, they just tell me to send them samples. So I send them free samples to field test.
Yeah. And, so hey, run this around for a little bit and let me know what you think.
Probably 90% of them, once they try it, they'll end up purchasing it. So they just, like anybody, I mean, if their crews like it, that's what the chief's going to do. Even, if it's a little more, they're going to definitely do it. So
it's not like it's that much more expensive
it's really
than anything else in the truck.
Really not, especially the reusable. We're a little bit higher on the disposable side just because of the sourcing issues versus the big giants in it.
Sure.
They're making most of them are making them overseas in Mexico, so it's really hard to.
But you're actually doing them here.
Yeah, but we're very close. Especially the reusable is almost the same, so that's really really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it is. It is not a cost prohibitive option, and think about the difference in. I feel like I'm selling your product, right? But like I feel like if you save one workers' comp claim, the blood draw after a stick, that's going to cost more than the whole system to solve a problem. Why would you?
Let alone if you needed any type of medical.
Yeah, imagine if it was a dirty needle, right? On that call however long ago. It
happens. Shit. It happens all the time. You just really don't hear about it. I mean, EMS is one of the most dangerous things out there, or careers that do, with the highest injury rates. And I think this is a huge part of it. Is they talk a lot about them not reporting it and stuff like that. And a lot of those are because they're patients, so it's like it is kind of part of the job. I mean, you definitely should report it, but you're not going to press charges on a patient. It's
like the guy was all out of his mind.
It. So you hear that a lot, but I think a lot of them are happening, during this process. So that's why, a big reason why I did it,
That's cool.
For sure.
That's interesting. Are you going to, as you look at your business, there's a million durable goods that you could build, right? Like I feel like the radio strap is one, like these cuffs are another one. You have a unique approach to it with the webbing and the more. It's not all leather. Like this is modern tech,
Yeah.
So is exploring and expanding your portfolio of products to other things that first responders need in your long-term vision?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I really like that. Like making cool stuff. even if it's a key ring or something. People. These actually work as glove holders, so people put this on their radio strap. These little things.
Awesome. So then you can on your turnout gear, whatever.
Yeah, so it's like a glove holder. Some want their name on it, so I'll actually sew in stuff. I use a embroidery person to do all that. And that's actually a pretty difficult thing to get into doing. Doing it right. So it's I outsource that, and so they'll send it to me, and that's what I'll do with your. Strap, I'll get it mailed to you, just whatever name you want on there.
That's sick. No, I love that.
But this is like another example. So San Francisco Fire is trialing these now, and everybody does things differently. That's how EMS
Welcome to the fire service. Every truck's different. Like a snowflake or a fingerprint.
So at their department, they use they only restrain to backboards. So I was like, okay, we have a cool system, but I said if these plastic clips are placed on a backboard, they're going to get broken.
Yeah, you'll set someone on it, or you're dragging on the ground.
You don't care for it as you do a.
The cot's stretcher. Not gotten slung around the back of the truck.
It's not getting thrown around. So we have this metal carabiner clip, which I would feel totally comfortable with having on a backboard. It's not going to get broken. And we just have a D-ring.
Like on this. So instead of a clip, then you have then your actual restraint just snaps into this thing.
It's an actual D-ring and then an adjustable little thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's essentially the same thing. It's just the D-ring goes in there.
That's awesome.
And that's been a huge thing too, just like the radio straps and, this model, it's just, it's listening to customers. I mean, it's helping me, it's helping them, and everybody wins. So,
how do you take that feedback and turn it into real life? Like when you send them the first one to trial, they're like, "Yeah, we're going to destroy this thing."
I actually just told them because they mentioned it, and I'm like, I already knew. I'm not going to waste all this time, waste both of our time sending this stuff out to you. I said you had to do the carabiner, and it's cool too because some people actually prefer that even on their hospital stretchers. Because at the show, this guy's like, that plastic's garbage, you know. And I understand that because people don't
they don't
understand
realize
how
it's
far, like how much engineering and science goes into that. Like it's crazy. I was shocked by it. Like
sometimes you can't change your mind.
It's really crazy to imagine like a 1-inch buckle has a 448-pound break.
So that thing really will hold up. But if you're concerned that it won't, fine. We got a metal one too.
Yeah, this actually breaks. The Box X stitching actually breaks before even the buckle, which is really surprised me. It's super incredible. But anyways, so the metal's still there though. So even you can tell them it's not going to break. They don't believe you.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, so we have a metal version, you know? And then so we actually we're going to start offering this soon. This is kind of new, so it's not on our website yet, but we're going to start offering a metal version as well for
That's awesome.
the hospital stretcher.
You should do some cool marketing behind, like, what does it take to actually break one of these things?
Yeah.
We did, years ago, we made this light for an ambulance. It's really thick, and everyone's like, oh, I drive near trees. I'm going to rip that thing off the truck. I'm like, what the hell are you talking? If you drive near trees that much, like your truck's gonna be in the body shop because you're gonna destroy the truck. And they're like, no, you know, the limbs will break the lenses. And I'm like, these things are like, there's no way. So I told them a million times there's no way. Then I tested it in a lab and proved that it could vibrate at this, and nobody cared. And then I was like, all right, screw it. I'm buying an ambulance. I went out, bought one on Craigslist, $500 piece of garbage, been in the woods for 1,000 years, pulled it out, didn't run, got it running. Bolted our lights to the side of it and ripped it through the woods on video.
Nice.
Just rubbing it against trees like all day. And we actually hooked the transmission cooling line on some stump or whatever, and the truck breaks down in the middle of the woods. So I shoot the video and I'm like, look, you guys have told me you're concerned about this, but if you actually damage this truck, like if you're out running in the environments you tell me you're running in, you'll break the truck before you'll break the lights on it. So trust me, not a problem. And one of our most popular pieces of marketing we've ever done, and that product has now become our most popular product, because now the guys are like, you didn't give me some bullshit. You tested it. I really believe you. And I feel like you could do some cool stuff if you said, like, all right, this thing will hold 400 pounds. That's probably its rated. I bet it'll hold more than that, you know? Like, so if you actually took, like, I don't know, pick up the entire cot from the thing and hang it from, you know, like a test jig, or like you could do some funny things, do like a tug of war and have it snap it together and do a tug of war. And
it actually gives you some good ideas. I actually had a guy like towing a car with it. He put the traditional one on, it just snapped easy, and then he put this plastic buckle and actually towed one of his trucks with it.
Dude, that's sick. I would be telling that story every firefighter in the world lays like on the recliner at the station. I'm sure you guys do it too when you're between calls. Once station duties are done, you flip through Facebook, you flip through Instagram, you're seeing all this stuff. If you had that story, people would lose their mind. They'd be like, that's what I want to use on my truck. Yeah. Even if for no other reason that they love what you're doing with it. I think that's they'll get behind that story. Sure. Yeah. What's your current state? Like, have you had some wins now with this new product? Like, tell me about the transition from when the original design, you realized, like, okay, this isn't the right design for the long run, and then you came up with your new design. Do you, like, have you had some early wins, and do you have some traction you're beginning to gain, or what's that like?
Yeah, for sure. We started right before COVID, so that was a big delay in getting going. So I think, I want to say like 6 months, a year before COVID. So like we just started going. We had a few departments come on, and COVID hit, and then obviously the focus was towards PPE and all that, which is understandable, obviously. So that just really killed us for that second year we were in business. And then even the third, or like 2021, then we were still kind of dealing with some of it.
So you're only a couple of years in business.
I started in 19.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a hard time to start.
Yeah, it was. It was horrible. So I had that definitely year where it just shut me down right when I kind of was getting a little traction. And then 2021, we still had some of the issues. People were still working it out. And 2022 has finally been the year where people were able to like do other stuff other than just try to focus on that big problem we had. And it's been our best year so far, for sure.
No way. Yeah. So what was it like when you had the first meeting that was different than, like, obviously the one that whoever it was shot you down? Was that first win like so great?
I got the check on a plaque in my room. It was amazing. I was like dancing.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Finally, it was like all these years later. I mean, at that point, it'd probably been like, I don't know, six years.
Oh, wow.
After I started, so that was just like really, really sweet for sure.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So now that you've sold one of them, I mean, I guess you actually have to build them now, right? Like, is that if you're still working on the ambulance, it's like, wait a minute, now I actually have to make a thing. How do you approach that, or what's your philosophy on? Philosophy is a big word. How do you actually make a thing?
Yeah. So I found some sewers, and we have two facilities. We have one in Orlando and then one in Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Oh,
so
cool.
I have 2 full-time sewers that make these for us, and
just local like firemen, or is it like
just sewers full-time?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they're people that actually do like the sewing.
That's
is
all
their
I
thing.
do. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and then I have a guy that helps me like quality, like checking all the work, making sure all their work's good, getting rid of any issues with that.
Yeah.
Then me and him we'll do packaging together and stuff, and then
Oh yeah. How do you actually so do you have to you got to source all the materials, and then you got to get the materials to the folks that sew them, and then collect the goods once they're done? Is that I feel like that's almost a whole job in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a lot, for sure, and that's why I want to focus on that, to make sure you're not running out of stuff if you get an order, because sometimes some of the materials from overseas, so it takes a little while to get here, but the majority, a lot of it's here, so it's cool. So just make sure I have all that set up, and
That's pretty slick. How have you kind of managed the growth so far? Is it rapid, or has it kind of been like, all right, I did one, now I'm doing the next one, and just kind of like just chalking up the wins, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's difficult, because I think any business has, they have the ups and downs of it. It's like cycles. It's either like you have nothing, or it's just like everybody in the world wants it from you. So it's really been this huge wave, you know.
Are you marketing it like on social media or at trade shows, or like?
I do it. I'm not a good marketer. I try my best, but I think the product's it's so good that it's people can see it even if the marketing is not that good. You know? And I had to really get over that too. Like, I'm not a big social media person. Like in my regular life, I don't put anything on there. So it was really hard, and I was always like, took me forever to write him, because I'm like, what is this person gonna? You think of all like your audience, that might offend, especially nowadays in this crazy world we're living in. So I had to get over that. Like I've read a few books too, like Finding Readings a lot, and one of the books, it was like saying just don't worry about it so much, and then really like don't care about the response. Like, why are you even? I think Gary Vee, he's like, I love that guy. He was the one. Actually, it wasn't a book. He was the one that was like, just who cares? Why are you even posting? Like, or is it for the likes, or why are you really doing it? When I knew it's like, Dave, you're trying to promote something good. Do it. Don't worry about how it's written. So it's actually gotten a lot easier. So I do a lot of that, for sure.
Cool. Do you go to shows and conferences and do you train people on it, or how do you what's
I do. Training is a thing we're going to start working on. We're getting a lot of requests now from customers for training. That's
on your product, or just in general?
On this, like how to really use this, and just not only use the product, but just integrate it into their protocols, Like there's not a lot of training in it. So I think people are really open to the idea of training. But for right now, like all we're doing is just strictly marketing this, and that's it.
Do you get to use these things on your ambulance?
Where I work, we don't really use them a lot.
Really?
So it's like,
that's so wild. Yeah.
I don't. We use them probably once every, 3 months where we're at. But
oh, wow.
It's all, we're in a different area.
Yeah. What are the, what are some of the challenges you have, as you're growing? Obviously, you're going to be hitting your head on stuff. What are the things you hit your head on? Especially being you're still working on the fire truck, right? That's still your full-time job?
Yeah.
So, what are you banging into?
Family, work, life balance. My wife.
I was like, you're married, you're a family man.
Yeah, I've been married 15 years.
No way. Got any kids?
I got one boy.
Oh, what? And you're doing all this.
Teenager.
Holy cow.
Next month. Huge. My wife's huge supporter. She really makes sure everything gets done. She really is just an amazing person that really takes care of it. Really makes all this possible, because I wouldn't even be able to have a shot without her.
That's so good.
So it's just hard balancing it all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I even want to ask you. I think it's getting better with delegating. Like I said, I'm using distributors now instead of direct, so that helps a ton.
Yeah.
And just really trying to get back to somewhat of a normal life. I lose work, or I lose opportunities because it's not worth it to me. You know what I mean? He's getting older. I've been doing this so long now. I mean, it's been since 2013. So it's I don't want to be this old guy with
with kids that don't know who you are.
Yeah, they don't even know who I am. It's just that's really been my focus. And really my biggest challenge to me, honestly, right now is just trying to get back to definitely I love working. I don't mind it, but it's just, you know,
having so many hours in the
just
day,
maybe
right?
not so much, you know. So just getting everything organized and, you know.
Does your wife help in the business or not so
She
much?
does. She's like an advisor, you know. She'll help me if I bounce stuff off her all the time for sure. She's really, really smart person.
Is she in public safety as well, or
no? She's not. She's a physical therapy assistant.
Oh, but still medical.
Yeah.
So she knows the game.
Yeah.
She knows how the body works anyway. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like work-life balance is tough. I mean, I know like my wife and I, we work together and we work like we have no kids. We would literally like get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, come over here, bust our ass all day. And then we go home and we do it again over and over and over and over again. And I mean, for us, we work together all day. So we get to experience a little bit of work while we have our life. And,
right.
But like when we travel, like do you guys go to shows together or anything or?
Not really. I mean, cause she works too, you know, so it's kind of hard. Yeah.
That's wild.
But
we do like, you know, for us anyway, like we'll go, like if we're going to like, for instance, that show at Fire Rescue East in Daytona. So we'll go down there and do that show, but then like we'll go a day early and then we'll hang out or we'll go like stay somewhere fancy and then go up and do the show and whatever. And like we try and pad it a little bit.
Right.
But it is tough. I mean, because you have to let your brain rest or else you never can grow. It's like if you worked out all day every day and you never took a day off, you'd never get any bigger because you'd just be torn down.
Right, for sure.
So there's something to that I think, I don't know. It's a tough balancing act. Yeah. It's an important one.
I feel like it's helping though, honestly. Like the less you press, like as like anything in life, you know what I mean? It actually has gotten better. You know? I'm not like so in it.
So what have you changed or what are you doing like that's different? Just leaning on distribution?
Not sewing myself.
Oh, so you were originally sewing these things?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I was sewing it and that's, you know, getting all the material cut. You know, I have a machine that cuts them and I prepare it all for them and just sales, marketing. I mean, everything was me. You know, I mean, you know how it is starting a business. You know, it's all on you. So,
is the business to a point where it's earning enough that it's paying its own bills, or are you still like investing?
No, we're actually making money now. Finally.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, hey, congratulations! That's always a good spot to be.
Thank you.
That's cool. Did you think it would ever get there, or were you kind of like deflated before it?
I wasn't sure. It was just going out on a limb. You know? But I did the math. Like a lot of people ask me for numbers, like what have we done? But instead of that, I just did the math, and this year we've put our restraints on 1,700 ambulances.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's really, really good year.
That's awesome.
For sure.
I'm
really
that's cool.
excited about it, yeah.
I was talking, so this guy Taylor that does the tins for the helmets, he was here the other day, and he was talking about, he views the whole world in numbers of tins. It's like, okay, so how many tins does it cost to do whatever? And it's like, how many do you have to sell, or what's the story? And I think it's funny because, like, people that want to know numbers, like, they're in the weeds. Like, they're focused on the wrong thing, but it's like, I impacted 1,700 people's lives this year. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Or I was able to touch however many units. And then we view our business, the brow light is the front of the fire truck cab. We view everything we do is like, how many brow lights does it cost to go to FDIC? How many do we actually have to sell?
Yeah.
And then it's like, how many people can we impact, or how many trucks or crews can we make better? And it's that's an interesting way of looking at it, but I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a shitload of ambulances. That's,
I'm happy.
That's a lot of trucks.
With our team, it's a small team. It's pretty cool, you know, for sure.
Have you heard stories from the field, like that people send back after they've got them and they've used them for the first time? Has anybody ever come back?
Yeah, that's really another thing I've focused on because I'm just so tired of talking about myself. Like you said, you need that social proof, you know. So I have a few surveys going on that I'm trying to get some bigger agencies like Medic 911 here in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
They're one of our largest customers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so,
and that's a private company, right?
Yes, I think so. They
run all 911 calls, but
I'm not sure if they're both or not, but.
What's it like now at the station? People see your business growing. Do they talk about what you're doing? Do they ask you about it?
Yeah, they think I'm like way bigger than I am. You know, like, are you going to retire soon? And it was kind of cool, like to see, you know, how good we actually have it at the fire service. You know, like I was crunching the numbers and to get what we have after like doing a full career in the fire service is a lot. Like you need a ton of money to be able to, you know,
to replace that income,
that income and obviously the retirement. So that was really a cool thing about this business is just seeing how good we really have it. You know, I tell these guys all the time, you know, like, oh, you're going to be too good for us or whatever. I'm like, dude, you guys are doing awesome. You know what I mean? So it's just,
I think that's really interesting because, you know, we've had a variety of sized businesses in on the show, and we've had like a lot of people that I'm meeting through the space. It's like you do have to think about what does it take to replace the income and the stability and the retirement of the fire service career. And like you know, a lot of people think it's super easy. Like, you're going to jump off and do it. But, like, I think, 90% of businesses fail within the first year.
Right.
And then 90% of those fail within the next 5 or the next 4. And so it's like, it's not a walk in the park. And there is a little bit of that, like, uncertainty. The fire service is you don't mess up. Like, if you just keep your head low, you do your job, do your 20 years or 30 years, whatever, like, get pension, retire, whatever. Like, it's a good gig.
It's great, yeah.
But business can be good too, and they can coexist. And when it does click and it does run, it's so worth it.
And how cool is that though to have the 488 off to do all that? It's awesome. Yeah, so cool. It's really a good job.
So I'm curious, and this is really more personal curiosity than anything else. But I hear it all the time. Like we're a growing small business, and in the fire station, like. That whole rhetoric of like, oh, you must be a millionaire. Oh, you're driving your demo truck that costs $250,000. It's like, well, you understand how many brow lights we had to sell, how many things we had to make, how many years we had to spend in order to build that demo truck. And that demo truck is not a toy. Like, that's something that we have to go. That's our livelihood. So some people buy buildings. We had to buy these vehicles to take the shows. Yeah. And like, I'm curious how you deal with it. Because honestly, that is my number one self-reflection back on being a firefighter at the same time as running a business is I catch so much shit. Yeah. And it's not like people are being negative, but it's like they just want to know and they just assume you're a gazillionaire. And it's like, dude, I wear a pair of shoes out every 5 weeks. I got these this morning because my other pair was squeaking as I'm walking because they're flat on the bottom. I'm like, I just have to. I work my butt off to be able to do what we do. And it's funny because like you do catch a lot of shit from the guys in the station. I don't know how big or small your company is. They're just like, I think it's funny. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, they're pretty good. They give me a little stuff about it, but they're not. I think I've been
hear it. Though.
I've been doing it so long though. I think they don't even they don't even have it. Like this poor guy. Like he's got to freaking win this. I can understand. Like maybe like I'd even be that way because then I kind of was that way in a way. Like I looked at these guys and I had no idea what they had to do. Yeah. Like you don't see it. You don't see all those bad things that have happened to them. You don't see them missing important stuff with their family that's killing them. It's like really hard. You know what I mean? So it's really given me appreciation for just like, just seeing some of these people build. It's just amazing, But yeah, I was definitely in that mindset, and you kind of look at it. But like I said, I think it's just with how long I've been doing it, man. It's at my department's pretty cool. Like they're all like, "You got to win this."
Yeah, dude, I like that.
Like I really probably have 0 haters anywhere.
The brotherhood of the fire service getting behind you is like, I mean, that's our story. Is we're a small business we're fighting some Goliath companies that are our competitors, and like I am not accountable to some public interest shareholder that doesn't care about what we do. I'm accountable to a firefighter that's on the end of the hose line that has to be able to see to do their job, or else they can't save lives. And so when those firefighters recognize that a business like ours exists to help them do their job safely. Right. I feel like there's a similarity in what you're doing. It's like you exist not to make little straps. You exist to help the firefighters and paramedics in the backs of the trucks not get stabbed by a guy that's unrestrainable because you can't even get a chemical restraint in the guy because the guy's flailing around. It's like, or gal, but I mean, I think that people will naturally get behind what you do, similar to what they've done and rewarded us with great growth because there is a little more to it than just like there's more profitable industries to be in. I mean, but there's a reason why you do it
for sure.
Yeah,
Makes it easy to keep going forward.
Well, that's great. Well, I want to know how can folks learn more about what you do and where can they find you online?
So you can go to our website xdcuff.com, XDCuff, or you can go to Code One Supply.
Those are the distributors that you can order
That's our master distributor. This is going to be soon held by multiple different distributors.
Oh, great.
It's just going to be really easy. I've definitely found that it's easier to work with departments and the distributors they use because it's a pain for them to like go to another company for something especially so small like this. Like it's kind of a headache for them, so it's nice to be
set
able
up a new thing,
to get in with their distributors, and just make it easy all the way around, So
that is awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing the story of XDCuff and your background. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Catch you next time. Yes,
for
sir.
Sure.
Absolutely.